Hi everybody. Hi everybody. We're going to be talking about Green Lantern. Yes, we're going to be talking about Green Lantern today. The DC Universe casting of the iconic villain we know, the Green Lantern villain, the greatest Green Lantern villain of all time. Yes, the greatest Green Lantern villain of all time. Yes, we're going to be talking about the greatest Green Lantern villain is now casted in DCU. Okay, the DC Universe Green Lantern may be saved from a disastrous fate. Now, the Green Lantern series, the upcoming Lantern series, will focus on both the mythology of both Hal Jordan, the original Green Lantern, and John Stewart, the second Green Lantern, recently teaming up together for a show. It bodes very well, though, one of the members of the Green Lantern Corps in particular, in the most ironic way. Again, we have someone finally cast and found as Sinestro. We talked a little bit about it on one of my other channels, but very small and really briefly we talked about Sinestro. They finally casted someone as Sinestro for the new upcoming Green Lantern series, bringing the most iconic Green Lantern villain in the DCU. He's also Hal Jordan's infamous arch rival. Also, speak them both characters with a grain of salt. You realize, oh, the major role again for having Hal Jordan go against his most infamous, most arch rival of all time, his greatest rival, Sinestro. So it wouldn't be a Green Lantern without a Sinestro, so you need to have the Sinestro. And so they found Sinestro. And they did just that. It might also avoid the mistake of other attempted DC Universe adaptations while also putting certain fears around the show and the rest. As noted, now having a face now joined as DC Universe as Sinestro, the most notorious Green Lantern enemy. Sinestro is also a member of Green Lantern Corps and was a former mentor and friend to Hal Jordan, who was the first human Green Lantern back in 1970. Also, unfortunately, his pride and arrogance has consumed him, and that's why he enslaved dozens of people and eventually turned his Green Lantern ring into a yellow power ring and took advantage of his former weakness over his rivals, all because he had inflated his ego. In time, Sinestro surrounded himself with like-minded deviants of himself and tyrants, again forming the Sinestro Corps. It's also more infamous through the comics, though. But again, comics explain it more than the show, but hopefully the show explores it. Though the exploits aren't usually earthbound, the Sinestro Corps is basically based in space, so it's also known for the friendship and the fellow despot Black Adam. Yes, Black Adam. You remember Black Adam, that awful, awful movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Yeah, there might be some connection to Black Adam, but we don't know if it's going to actually show Black Adam in the show. It's just saying there's a friendship between Sinestro and Black Adam. Okay, there's a really close connection between Black Adam and Sinestro, and in the comics, but we know. Okay, writer Geoff Johns revitalized and revamped and entirely did the Green Lantern comics in mythology when he brought Hal Jordan back in Green Lantern Rebirth. Ever since then, Sinestro's profile has risen higher and higher, which is why he is basically the biggest, baddest Green Lantern villain there ever was. The character was previously played by Mark Strong back in the infamous cult classic 2011 Green Lantern movie that was also done um, before the DC Universe. And basically, that was all. Green Lantern was actually played by the Canadian actor we know, Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds. Okay, his portrayal was there seemingly as one of the greatest few spots. Again, Mark Strong Sinestro going up against the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. It was actually really good. Strong has also played Thaddeus Savannah, who also is also given as the role Dr. Savannah. He is one of the greatest villains in all of the extended universe. In this extended universe, Shazam, yes, in the first Shazam film, not the second Shazam film, the first Shazam film, and was the second actor to play Carmine Falcone in the TV show The Penguin. And if you haven't watched The Penguin, I recommend you watch it. It's really dark, but it's also really grounded. So if you really like The Penguin, I recommend you watch that. It's on HBO. Given how notorious the previous live-action iteration of Green Lantern is, many had feared that Hal Jordan and Sinestro might have been ignored in the new DCU. Thankfully, the opposite seems to be the case. so certain fears are now put to bed. One DC Universe Green Lantern may be saved from disastrous fates. In October last fall, they said Kyle Chandler will be the actor who will be playing as Hal Jordan. Again, given the age of the fact that Josh Brolin was previously rumored up to the role, some fans have concern over him being casted for Hal. The biggest fear is that Hal Jordan would be killed at the end of the Lanterns, namely making way for the new John Stewart Green Lantern to officially kind of take up his reign. Such as the case with the Tomorrowverse, which is the animated series of Green Lanterns, where Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, yes, Kyle Rayner, we gotta have Kyle Rayner. He's very, very famous in 1990s arc of comics of Green Lantern. Characters are juxtaposed unto John Stewart, also who's comparatively lacking in both personality and worthwhile stories to adapt. John Stewart is famous for the DC animated universe, also shortened as the DCAU. The DCAU, John Stewart, Green Lantern, only the second most famous Green Lantern next to Hal Jordan. And basically, he had a romance with Hawkgirl during the Justice League series, the animated series which ran from the 2000s. And now, we bring the term to the table. Diversity is not just enough to justify the Green Lantern mythology. It's just basically having the right people play the right part. And having Sinestro in that show will help bring the focus and bring down the fear of this show being as bad or if worse than predecessing projects, like the predecessors. Now, John Stewart has no such history with Sinestro, even though trying to establish such a relationship by essentially having him kind of be, again, the second Green Lantern after Hal Jordan, the original Green Lantern, and John will look even more ill-fated than the character, his other friend, we said, again, from the Lanterns. Now, as the issue with the animated movie Green Lantern Beware My Power, this actually made some sense because fans didn't like John Stewart and Beware My Power. It isn't all that similar in a situation with The Flash, wherein they basically made the modern Flash mythology kind of turn away when they put the Wally West as the Flash. During the same time when Wally West became the Flash after the original one, Barry Allen, basically the introductory elements of the mythology were all kind of tied to him. So John Stewart is basically the same thing to Hal Jordan, just like Wally West is the same thing to Barry Allen. Again, remember that. Even the return of Sinestro and the birth of the Sinestro Corps, or creation of Sinestro Corps, can come around after Hal Jordan is brought back. Again, Hal's return to the land of living comics was nothing like Barry Allen's Flash. In fact, many fans really disliked Barry's Flash because it brought it all back with the New 52. The New 52 is a story arc series that collected the DC comics from the 2010s. Now, wherein Barry is the only Flash in New 52, and was regarded hated as the one that destroyed the Flash mythology, namely by erasing the most iconic version of Wally West. On the other hand, Hal's character would basically run the same mud and the same infamous story we know from the 90s, Emerald Twilight. I actually have a copy of Emerald Twilight at my sister's in Safe House. Yes, I have a copy of the 90s story Emerald Twilight. As fun and fresh as Kyle Rayner is, the tenure, again, of if he joins as Green Lantern would be cool too. Also considering that Kyle Rayner was never in live action before. That would be cool. But then again, Hal turns evil in the aforementioned story again, from the Emerald Twilight. Like John and Kyle, again, you're going to have Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is the first Green Lantern in the DCU. Actually, the first Green Lantern who's going to be in DCU, thanks to 2025 Superman movie. His thematic irrelevance is only cemented because Hal Jordan, in his return, has brought back many concepts overnight. Now, Hal Jordan himself found like he is cemented as the main Green Lantern, when ultimately he is the Green Lantern. He is the mainstream Green Lantern. Arguably said. Now, Sinestro is finally able to write off a similar light as the DC mainstays like Lex Luthor and Joker. Well, we gotta still figure out the Joker situation, but we have or Lex Luthor already get casted by someone as well. But again, that's for the Superman project though. But that's never happened with any ever enemy of the other Lanterns. And why is this TV show going all in with the Hal Jordan Sinestro? Well, if the two aren't in another movie together, their feud will serve as organic crucifix to the entire TV series. Lanterns may not be the Earthbound as feared. Another fear of the Green Lantern series is that it stems the show in the shadows and the tone of the series, which is largely more mundane than some expect. Supposedly, the series will focus on a murder in the heartland of America, where basically Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan investigate the situation as both the Lanterns themselves and Sinestro himself. Together, they have to figure out what happened. In the comic books, likewise, the scope compared to the TV show, True Detective, pretty much. It's basically going to be kind of like that. However, none of this sounds like the source material, given that it is most notably DC Comics material in the cosmic science fiction brand. Again, Sinestro around the situation and having Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart investigate this situation in the early days alongside working Sinestro to his downfall and basically his subjugation and subsequent banishment from the Green Lantern Corps. This will all take place in the series we're going to see, and the Green Lantern series. Doing this might help bring a nice balance to the Green Lantern series, because on Earth seems to ground the show as much as possible. As the space side of things, that might be a little challenging, given that the infamous cult classic movie, the 2011 Green Lantern, was making something like both True Detective while also following it, kind of like the same kind of serious sci-fi like Dune Prophecy was. The Green Lantern brand will basically have to shake off the shackles associated with the cult classic 2011 Green Lantern and have to do something different. So again, it'll hopefully do some justice while also the best rivals in comics, namely keeping Hal Jordan around. Again, Lanterns is an upcoming show that'll hit on HBO Max.